Good morning, everyone. Today I thought I'd make a little tutorial on fuel pressure regulators. There's confusion about them. It's easy to put the wrong one on the wrong application. Don't be embarrassed if you've done it. I've done it. Really good engine builders have done it. There's two types, essentially, non-return and return types. So I've laid them out here with a little diagram so you can follow along with me on which one is which and how to plumb each one. Let's start over here. This is a non-return regulator. In from the pump on the bottom, out on two sides on the top. You can plug one of these, run one carburetor, open them both, run two carburetors, dual quads, whatever you might have. Adjustment screw, they're all the same. Allen head adjusting screw and a lock nut on the top. That's for non-return. Now, make clear, we're talking about low pressure application here. This is not for fuel injection, high pressure. We're talking about carbureted 5 to 8 pounds, typically, applications. This one, return type, a little more complicated. This is a Holley 12881. I got this. I want to give a shout out to Richard Birchfield in Virginia. He has every sort of carburetor thing you could possibly want. All the regulators, pumps, rebuild kits, everything. And he packs everything perfectly, ships them right away. So shout out to him for this Holley 12881. This is about $60. Value for money on this regulator is just excellent. You can spend $300 on a return regulator, but it's not necessary. The $60 regulator will do you just fine. So this is the difference in the two. This one, in from your pump on the left side, out to your carburetor on the right side, return back to your tank on the bottom. Two other ports. This one for fuel pressure gauge. If you want to mount it right on the regulator, you don't have to. I'll show you how we set it up a little bit differently. And then this is a vacuum source. This port on the left. That goes to the base of your carburetor or manifold vacuum. The purpose for that, which is very handy, and a lot of the more reasonably priced regulators don't have that. This assists the relief valve when your car's under hard acceleration, and it gives a more precise, consistent pressure. So look for this and get your vacuum source. It'll pay off for you. It just runs a simple line back to your carburetor, your manifold, as I said. So our setup would look like this. Your ports are 3/8 pipe thread, all three of them. 3/8 pipe thread. Adapter to AN6 is what we use typically. Again, 3/8 pipe to AN6. And then we put the pressure gauge here between the regulator and the carburetor so we get an exact measurement of what the pressure is really in the feed line. Word about pressure gauges. This one is 0 to 15. You'll have much better success if you try and use a low scale like this rather than a 0 to 100, 0 to 80. Those will be very inaccurate at low pressure. So try and find a low scale like this. Can you check this without running your engine? Yes. If you look close what we've done here, we have our 3/8 pipe AN6, and then we've got a block off plug on here. So we can run our whole system without ever starting the engine. Turn on the pump, run, set the pressure, return to tank. So this is essentially a loop. Now, what's the advantage of going to all this trouble? Basically, you know the deal. Most street rods are chug, 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 chug along. They're on the parade grounds, they're at a show, they're whatever it might be. And vapor lock is just the death of these cars constantly. A return line will virtually eliminate that problem because you're always circulating fresh, cold fuel. When you're chugging along at low speed, the fuel is stagnant, stays in the lines, your exhaust system's under the car, your pump's getting hot, your lines are getting hot, and that's where you get into trouble. This, you come in, fuel you don't need, goes back to your tank. So you have a loop constantly. One other little trick I might add, if you want to think about it, we have actually a small cooler built into our fuel line. Our system goes from the tank to a sediment type filter, then it goes to the pump, then it goes to a cooler through a small cooler, then it goes to a high micron filter, then to the engine. just food for thought. One big complaint with this guy, when you get it, these are not tapped. And when you get this rascal, you're supplied with these little self-tapping Phillips screws, and you want to drive them in with this, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. If you've ever done that, you know how successful that is. So here's the cure for that. As fate would have it, the bore on this is exactly the bore you need for a 1/4-20 tap. So if you're careful, you can get a 1/4-20 tap in there and cut some really nice threads, eliminate all these funky little screws, and put a nifty little standard 1/4-inch bolt in there, and you're all set to go. Now, when you do that, I want to caution you, use a good tap, because this isn't real heavy quality metal. An old tap can bind and crack your housing. Also, if you horse down on a tap, you've heard me say in other videos, don't force anything on a car. If you horse down on your tap, a good quality tap will bite, and it'll want to just keep on going. And if you're not careful, you'll be into the fuel passageway. So you can do that, but you have to be very careful. The fittings, by the way, I want to give another shout out here to Racetronics in Canada. Their fittings are precise. Everyone is consistent. You can order this fitting 5 years from now, and it'll be exactly the same. No difference. Perfect stuff. Racetronics, Canadian firm, really good. Okay, so there's our basic deal. Non-return, into the base, out to a carburetor, adjust on the top. Return type, into the left side, out to the carburetor, return back to the tank, vacuum source. And there you have it. Have a good day, guys.